Sometimes a graph isn't detailed enough to give us an exact solution to a system of equations, but exact solutions can be found using something called substitution. The idea behind substitution is that you're going to take one of your equations and substitute it into the other equation. In order for this to happen, you need to have one of your equations set up as either an x equals or a y equals equation. And when we look at this problem, we can see that we already have y equals x plus 4. What we're going to do is we're going to take this value for y and plug it into the other equation. By doing this, we will get rid of one of our variables and be able to solve the equation and find out exactly what value we have for x and y. The way I start is I'm going to write this first equation. I'm going to keep everything exactly the same except for the value I'm going to put in for y. I'm going to substitute what we know, that y equals x plus 4. Everything else in that equation stays the same. Once I've made this substitution, all I have to do is solve the problem using all my properties. I'm going to start off with my distributive property, and then I get 4x plus 2x plus 8 equals 38. Then I'm going to combine like terms, so 4x plus 2x gives me 6x. I need to get my x's all by themselves, so I'm going to take that 8 and subtract it from both sides. I get 6x equals 30. And to finish this off and find out what x equals, I divide both sides by 6, and I find out that x equals 5. Now you might think that we're done, but remember, the solution to a system of equations is not a single number, but an ordered pair. So what I need to do is take this value for x, and I'm actually going to substitute it again to now find out the value of y. I can take this value and substitute it into either equation. Okay, that will help me find out that missing value. I'm going to start off with this equation, y equals x plus 4, because that seems like an easier equation to work with. So I'm going to take my value that I know for x and substitute it. So instead of y equals x plus 4, I know that x is 5, so I have y equals 5 plus 4, which tells me that my value for y is 9, which means the solution to this ordered pair has an x value of 5 and a y value of 9. So one solution at 5, 9. Here's another example. Now the only difference with this example is it doesn't have an equation that's starting out as x equals or y equals. We need that in order to be able to use substitution. In order to figure out which equation you want to change, look at both equations. You want to change the equation that has an x or a y value with no coefficient in front of it. That'll be easier to change to just plain old x equals or y equals because you won't have to do division later on. So, in order to make this an x equals equation, I'm going to add 3y to both sides, which will move it. So then I'll have x equals 3y minus 2. Now that I know what x equals, I'm ready to use my substitution. I'm going to take this value for x and substitute it into the other equation. So my original equation was 2x, but instead of x, I'm going to substitute the value in that we know for x, and then write that equation the way it is. Everything else stays the same. Once I've made my substitution, now it's time to use my distributive property. So I'm going to end up with 6y minus 4 plus 2y equals 28. I need to combine like terms. So 6y plus 2y gives me 8y. Oops, not plus 4, sorry about that. 8y minus 4 equals 28. And again, it's time to get that y by itself, so I'm going to take this 4, add it to both sides. That leaves me with 8y equals 32. My last step is going to be to divide both sides by 8. And I find out that y equals 4. And again, we're not totally done. This is just one value for x. One value for y. Our solution is an ordered pair. So I'm going to take this value for y and plug it into one of my equations. It doesn't matter which one I pick. Just pick one equation and then take the value you found for y and put it in for y. So what I'm going to have here is 2x plus 2 times y, my value for y was 4, equals 28. And then I just solve. So 2x plus 8 equals 28. Got to move that 8 to the other side. That's going to give me 2x equals 20. Divide both sides by 2. And I find out that x equals 10. So again, my ordered pair, the answer to this system of equations, the solution, has an x value of 10 and a y value of 4.